Welcome back, and let's learn some little Node. Today let's learn some two topics. One, how to work with command line arguments in Node. Two, how to work with environmental variables in Node.js. So first, in the command line arguments, assuming like you have an expression in JavaScript, for example, const age equals to 27. Now, usually you will initialize that age value in your file, for example, const age 27. But did you know that you can achieve this by sending the value in your command line? Now, this is where the command line argument comes in. So to work with command line arguments, Node.js comes pre-built with a module named process. Now, this process module is what will enable you to work with command line arguments. So if you use, for example, process.argv, and then you pass the index of that argument, then with that, Node will be able to pass that value to the expression that you have in your file. For example, if you have a file named Node.js, usually for you to run this file, you need to write node space, the name of the file or the script, which is, for example, index.js, and then you run it. This will execute that script. But then you can go ahead in your terminal and pass now the command line arguments. For example, node index.js and 27. And then in your file where you had age, const age, you should now assign it to const age equals to process.argv, then give it index 2. Index 2, why? Because as having typed node space index.js, then the 27, node is the first argument, that is index 0. The name of the file is the second argument, that is index 1. And now 27 is the third argument, which will take index 2. Now, whenever that script is run, the age will be referenced to the command line argument at index 2, which is now 27. I'll show you that practically. Another thing that we're learning is environmental variables. Now, do you know that you can work with environmental variables in Node by simply passing the key value pair before you execute the script? For example, if initially or normally you execute it using Node, the script name, and then you press enter, you pass the variable, for example, port equals to 8080 space, another key value, which is in the which we treat as an environmental value, something like name is Osego. And then now you call your script or run it. For example, node, then what you call the name of the script. Now, this is what I'm going to show you, and also how to access the operating system variable, for example, the username. So this will come in handy, for example, during testing and stuff. But during production environment, you want to have a separate file called .env file in which you list all your sensitive key value pairs. Now, when you have a .env file, then it will skip what you pass in the terminal and use what you have in the .env file. But long story short, let's do it so that you can see what I mean. A sip of water before you do that. Now, this is a Node file and it's my terminal open here. So usually, or normally, you'll do something, normally you'll have an expression like const age equals to 27. And then you can try log it to the console using the console.log and then pass the argument as the age. Now, for us to run this file, we just do the node, then the name of the script is Node.js. So it will log 27, okay? Now, clear that. Then let's go back to our expression. Now, instead of passing 27 here, you can actually wait and then pass that 27 on your command line argument here. So what do we do that way? Like I mentioned, we'll use process.argv, then pass the index of that argument, index 2. I'll explain why it is index 2. So if you run this file again, we can do node, then the name of the script, which is Node.js, and then the initialization or the initial value of age is 27. Now press enter. What do we get? We still get 27. But now, instead of initializing our value of age in our file, we initialize it during the run time. We initialize it when we run the script. Now, why number 2, index 2? Because in our command line, we have 3 inputs or 3 arguments. One is the node, then the script, then the third argument, which is the value of age. This is index 0, index 1, index 2. Okay. So what happens is that it will now look in the command line arguments and check for index 2, which is 27, and assign 27 to our age. Or we can do something like age is equals to process.argv index 2 or 36. So what happens? If you fail to supply this argument here, it will use 36 if this is missing. So let's clear that and try again without passing the argument. So I'll simply remove the argument. Then what do we have? 36. Now you see how it works. And you can also do that with other arguments. For example, const name equals to something like process.argv at index 3. So when I'm running my file here, first we clear, so get a clear view, clear that, then we can say, we can run node, then index 2 is 27, that's the h, and the name, which is index 3, should be Osego codes. Now watch me, when we run it, it should now, for example, let's log that, log the name. Now instead of the name is actually kind of reserved keyword, so we can say like channel. So when we run this, we should expect 27 and Osego codes. So let's do that. We see we have 27 and Osego codes. So let's have another thing, like maybe to make it more clear. For example, we can use template strings. We can use template strings. For example, my YouTube is, then let's pass the variable. Not really. Let's pass that. My YouTube is a channel, and I am age years old. So this should print my YouTube is what I pass in the command line, and I am thus years old. So clear up that terminal again, then run. What do we have? My YouTube is Osego codes, and I am 27 years old. And that is what you need to know about command line arguments. So I'll clear that. Then let's go to the next thing. Let's delete everything here. Now let's work with environmental variables. First, the node allows you to access the operating system variables like the username. For example, when you do something like console.log, no, not console.log, I mean console.log, then want to pass the process.env.user. This should print the user or the owner of this computer, and that is what is stored in the operating system. So when I run this, I should have something like node. My name is Osego. That is it. Now, let's do something else. Let's have some other values. Let's say process.env.age. Then you want to console log that. Control X, then log that. Then something else like Control C, just some 3 more. For example, the name. Then you can also log what we call, for example, location. How do we pass the environmental values in the command line? So just clear up. Then you first start with those key value pairs. For example, age equals to 27 space, name equals to Osego. Then the final thing is the location. You can do location equals to jQuat. Then after which, now we have this our environmental values here, the key value pairs separated by spaces. Then the next thing you want to do is now run your script, Node.js. So what do we have in the terminal? If you scroll up, you see we have Osego, which is the name of the OS user. Then we have the age, which is 27. Why did we find the age? We pass it as an environmental variable here, 27. Then what else do we have? The name, which is Osego. Where did we pass it? Here. What else do we have? Location. Why did we pass it? Location jQuat here. So basically, that is how you can work with environmental variables and command line arguments. In environmental variables, when working on a production project, you will need to have a separate file, for example, here, and call it, I get a new file here, call it .env. Then inside here, you need to pass all these values that you have here. And of course, for you to work with this, you need to install other packages like the .env package. So thank you for watching, guys. See you in the next video.